all. Nothing at all. No, I'm not getting no calls at all. Nobody calling me. Nobody.
What happened to the rising dancehall star Medikk? Was it a tragic accident or something far more sinister? Stephanie Williams, known in the dancehall world as Medikk, had the world at her feet. But one fateful night, she vanished without a trace, and the mystery surrounding her disappearance would leave everyone questioning. Was this a tragic twist of fate or a carefully orchestrated crime? Before we dive deep into this chilling case, take a moment to support our channel. If you enjoy unraveling mysteries like this, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an update. Your support helps us bring more of these untold stories to light. Stephanie Williams, better known by her stage name Medikk, wasn't just another name in the crowd. Born in Westmoreland, Jamaica, she carved a niche for herself in the competitive dancehall world. A fierce, independent woman with a voice that could captivate the masses, Medikk was on the fast track to stardom. But she wasn't just about the music. She was an entrepreneur dedicated to building her own brand, Reborn Holistic, which focused on natural wellness products. Medikk's presence was magnetic. Fans and friends alike admired her ambition, her authenticity, and her dream of becoming a household name. She was a rising star in every sense of the word, with a future that seemed limitless. But everything changed on the evening of August 24th, 2023. What began as an ordinary day soon turned into a nightmare. Stephanie was last seen leaving her apartment in Kingston. She stepped out as usual, dressed simply in black, heading into the unknown. Hours passed, but she never returned. Medikk's disappearance wasn't just another missing person case. It was the vanishing of a beloved figure in Jamaica's vibrant dancehall community. The music world had come to admire Stephanie Williams not only for her talents, but for her strong spirit and hustle. Her absence sent shockwaves through her fans, and as the hours passed, the concern quickly escalated. It was clear that something was terribly wrong. Her family was desperate for answers, but the answers they were about to receive would be chilling. According to friends and associates, Stephanie had been in a hurry that day. She was dressed simply, a black blouse, black tights, and a pair of black shoes. Just another day in the life of a busy woman who had a lot on her plate, balancing her career and her entrepreneurial ambitions. However, there was no sign of her after she left her apartment that evening. Her phone went silent, and the usual routine was interrupted by an unsettling stillness. Witnesses recall her saying she was heading out to meet someone, but that was the last time anyone heard from her. As night fell, her family grew increasingly anxious. Stephanie's mother, who had spoken to her earlier in the day, was the first to realize something was terribly wrong. Stephanie was supposed to return that evening, but hours passed, and there was still no word. Calls went unanswered, messages unreturned. Concern turned to panic. The woman who had always kept in touch, who had dreams and a drive so strong, was suddenly unreachable. With no trace of her whereabouts, her mother filed a missing persons report with the Constant Spring Police that very evening. But even then, no one could have imagined what would unfold next. No one could have predicted just how deeply this mystery would unravel. The police, after receiving the report, immediately launched a search, but the investigation into Stephanie Williams' disappearance was not as straightforward as they had hoped. Kingston was a bustling city, filled with dark corners and hidden truths. The question was, who knew what had happened to the 29-year-old woman who was seemingly vanishing into thin air? Days turned into weeks, and no new leads emerged. Friends, family, and fans all began to fear the worst. But it wasn't until 6 months later that a discovery would send shockwaves through the investigation, pushing it to a dark, unexpected direction. February 14th, 2024, would be the day everything changed. A remote cane field in the rural district of Wallen, St. Catherine, was a setting for what would become one of Jamaica's most chilling discoveries. Skeletal remains were found in the field, an area that seemed far removed from the busy streets where Medikk had once walked. But there was something about this scene that felt all too familiar. After a careful examination, the police made the horrifying confirmation. These were the remains of Stephanie Medikk Williams. After the skeletal remains were transported for further analysis, a chilling truth emerged. DNA tests confirmed that the bones belonged to none other than Stephanie Williams. She had been gone for months, and now, finally, her family had confirmation of what they had feared the most. But what came next would shock everyone, including the investigators. A post-mortem conducted on the remains revealed the truth behind her tragic end. Medikk had not died from natural causes. Her life had been stolen by gunshot wounds. This was not an accident or a random event. This was murder. From the moment the police confirmed the gunshot wounds, a theory began to take shape. Was this the result of a contract killing? Could someone have hired an assassin to silence the rising star? As the investigation unfolded, a dark and twisted possibility began to emerge. Now, we turn to you, our viewers. What do you think happened to Stephanie Medikk Williams? Was she a victim of a calculated hit, or is there more to the story? Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Months passed with no substantial clues, and the case of Stephanie Medikk Williams seemed to be slipping into the shadows of unsolved mysteries. Her family clung to hope, and her fans kept the search alive, but the truth seems farther away than ever. That is, until February 14th, 2024, when a chilling breakthrough arrived. In a remote cane field in St. Catherine, police were called to investigate a set of skeletal remains found in a desolate stretch of rural land. The location was isolated, far from the busy streets of Kingston where Stephanie had last been seen. Initially, no one could confirm the identity of the remains, but there was an unmistakable eeriness about the scene. The bones seemed too deliberately placed, almost as if someone had been hiding a dark secret. The remains were transported to the coroner's office for further examination, and the forensic team worked tirelessly to piece together the truth. After an intensive analysis, the results were unequivocal. The bones belonged to Stephanie Medikk Williams. It was a devastating confirmation that no one was prepared for. The discovery shattered the lingering hope that she might have simply run away or been lost. Medikk hadn't just vanished. She had been taken, and now the investigation was about to shift into a darker, more terrifying direction. When the news broke, the shockwaves reverberated far beyond her family and friends. This wasn't just a missing persons case anymore. It was a full-blown homicide investigation. The discovery of her remains brought with it a chilling twist. Medikk hadn't disappeared. She had been murdered. Her family, who had spent months hoping for any news, now faced a new nightmare. What had happened to her? Who would want to harm a young woman with so much promise, a rising star in the music world, with a thriving business of her own? The question that had haunted everyone since her disappearance now had an unsettling answer. With the confirmation of her identity and cause of death, the investigation took a new turn. This was no longer just a search for a missing person. It was a race to uncover the truth behind a brutal murder. Police began retracing Medikk's final movements, looking for clues that would point them in the right direction. The question that lingered now was simple, yet horrifying. Who killed Stephanie Williams and why? As investigators worked tirelessly to uncover the truth, the next revelation was even more horrifying than they had anticipated. A post-mortem conducted on the remains confirmed the cause of death: gunshot wounds. Medikk had not simply vanished. She had been violently taken from the world. But the question still loomed. Who could have done this and why? Was it a targeted attack? A random act of violence? Or something far more sinister? With the truth of her violent death now revealed, investigators began to piece together a chilling picture. Was this a targeted contract killing? Or did Medikk unknowingly cross someone who wanted her silenced? As the investigation deepened, dark secrets about her personal life and business dealings began to emerge, hinting at the possibility of betrayal from those closest to her. As the investigation progressed, the cane field where Medikk's remains were found was scoured for evidence. The scene itself yielded few clues. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood stains or physical altercations. However, one piece of evidence would soon change the trajectory of the case. Amidst the remains, investigators discovered personal items belonging to Medikk, items that seemed to indicate she had been there for a while, possibly suggesting the killer had taken time to conceal her body. It was these items, her jewelry, clothing, and phone, that would eventually become key pieces in the investigation. The findings of the post-mortem examination were even more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. Medikk had died from multiple gunshot wounds, a fact that brought a shocking new dimension to the case. Not only had she been violently taken from the world, but it seemed she had been targeted. Her murder was no longer just another tragic story. It was a premeditated act of violence, one that spoke to the killer's intent. But the deeper question remained: who could have wanted her dead? And why would anyone go to such lengths to silence a rising star in the dance hall scene? As the investigation unfolded, police began to form a few theories regarding the motives behind Medikk's death. The dance hall scene, though vibrant and full of opportunity, could also be dangerous. Was her death a personal vendetta from someone in her inner circle? Or could it have been a botched contract killing, orchestrated by someone who wanted her silenced? These questions loomed large as investigators pored over the evidence. Could it have been a rivalry? Or was there a darker, more complex story beneath the surface of Medikk's public persona? In a shocking turn of events, just when the case seemed to have stalled, a witness came forward with information that would shake the investigation to its core. The new lead wasn't just any casual tip-off. It was a first-hand account that revealed an unexpected connection to Medikk's death. The witness spoke of a confrontation, a mysterious phone call, and a series of strange events leading up to that fateful night. Suddenly, a new layer of the investigation unfolded. Could the killer be someone from Medikk's inner circle? Or was this an entirely new and even more dangerous lead? As the investigation continues to unfold, more questions arise. Who was the mysterious person Medikk had been speaking to before her death? Was this a random killing, or was someone plotting her demise all along? With the new witness testimony, a clearer picture is starting to form, but it's still not enough to pinpoint the killer. The twists and turns of this case continue to baffle the investigators and the public alike. One thing is certain: the truth behind Medikk's death is far from simple, and until the full story is revealed, everyone will be left questioning: who killed Stephanie Medikk Williams and why? Stephanie Williams, or Medikk, was much more than a rising star in the dance hall scene. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, someone who had dreams and aspirations far beyond the music world. When she disappeared, it wasn't just the entertainment industry that felt the loss. It was her family, her loved ones, and a community who had watched her grow. Their grief was overwhelming, and the pain of losing someone so young, so full of potential, seemed impossible to fathom. Her mother, who had always been so proud of her daughter's achievements, was now left with nothing but unanswered questions and the heartbreaking reality that her little girl was gone forever. Every day that passed without answers felt like an eternity of silence. The loss of Medikk sent shockwaves through the Jamaican dance hall scene, a community that had watched her rise, admired her talent, and supported her entrepreneurial journey was now forced to grapple with the unthinkable. Her fans, her friends, and fellow artists were left not only mourning the death of someone they admired, but questioning why someone so full of life and potential had to die so violently. As tributes poured in from all corners of the world, the question that hung in the air was simple: who could do this to someone who had given so much to her fans, who had dreams of building something bigger, something lasting? The impact of her death reverberated far beyond her family and close friends. It affected an entire community that had invested so much hope in her future. As the months passed and more details of Medikk's tragic end began to surface, one thing became clear: the dancehall community was not the same without her. She had brought something fresh to the scene: her energy, her passion, her unique voice. And now that was gone. But what had happened to her? Why had this vibrant woman been taken away so violently? Her fellow artists, many of whom had worked alongside her, struggled to come to terms with her loss. This wasn't just a death. It was a tragedy that felt personal, because in the world of dancehall, artists like Medikk were family. The legacy she left behind would forever be tied to the sorrow that her untimely death caused. Despite the ongoing investigation, Medikk's family and the community were left with an overwhelming sense of uncertainty. Who had taken her life and why? What could drive someone to kill a young woman who had so much to live for? Every new revelation, every clue, seemed to only add to the mystery. Now, as the search for justice continues, her family and fans cling to one thought. Will they ever get the closure they desperately need? The investigation is far from over, but the emotional toll has been undeniable. And as long as the truth remains hidden, the pain of loss will only grow. Now, as the investigation continues, the question remains, who could have been behind such a senseless act? Was this the work of a cold-blooded contract killer, hired to eliminate Medikk for reasons we may never understand? Or was this a personal vendetta, a betrayal by someone close to her, a friend, a lover, or a business associate who saw her success as a threat? The truth is, no one really knows. The investigation has unearthed multiple theories, but each one leads to more questions than answers. Was Medikk's rise to fame and her expanding business in the dancehall scene too much for someone to handle? Or did her personal relationships carry darker secrets that only the killer knew? The case of Stephanie Medikk Williams is far from over, and there are still so many unanswered questions. Was this an orchestrated contract killing? Or was the killer someone closer to her? Someone who knew her better than anyone else? The truth could be stranger and more complicated than we ever imagined. Now, it's your turn. What do you think happened to Medikk? Do you believe the authorities are missing something critical? Or are we on the verge of uncovering a truth that could shock us all? While the investigation into Medikk's death may be ongoing, there's no telling when new developments will surface. The police are still chasing down leads, and with new forensic evidence and witness statements coming in, there may be a breakthrough just around the corner. But until then, we'll continue to keep you updated. The questions surrounding this case are far from over, and we may just be on the verge of uncovering the shocking truth. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you don't miss a single update as we continue to follow this case and uncover new clues. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the tragic case of Stephanie Medikk Williams. If you found this investigation insightful, please like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. See you next time